Texans, Jaguars, Sunday, NRG Stadium. We're on to Jacksonville. Rub your feet all over the carpet or the couch if you so choose. The Vikings stank. The Vikings dog poo. It's in the past. And now the Texans take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the question I have is, are the Jaguars really as bad as they've looked? They're 0-3 this season. The most recent loss was 47-10 to the Buffalo Bills. This is also a team that lost to Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns 18-13, and also lost the season opener to the Miami Dolphins and gave out an 80-yard touchdown pass to a guy who literally had been in handcuffs a couple of hours before the game.
I forgot about that.
Tyreek Hill, very fast man. So they lose their first 3 games. Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa, good team. The Browns outside of Deshaun Watson are a good team. The Bills are the best team in the AFC right now. Are they as bad as their record looks right now?
I think the answer is yes. It's not just that because the biggest problem they have is their quarterback. Like, while they have some good pieces, it just seems like Trevor Lawrence is just taking a massive step back in his career. I mean, he's been 12 of 21, 14 of 30, and 21 of 38. That's poor for completion percentage alone. And in the NFL, in which so many quarterbacks just dink and dunk their way down the field to a high completion percentage, he's not hitting. And Gabe Davis has not made an impact. Travis Etienne has not really popped off this year. So I think, yes, I think they're as bad as the record says.
You could make an argument that he is on the same level as Daniel Jones right now. Their statistics are pretty similar over the course of their career to this point. And right now, Trevor Lawrence is 30th in the NFL in completion percentage, 26th in touchdown percentage, 23rd in yards per attempt, 26th in yards per game, 26th in passer rating. Just want to beat the right there. His numbers towards the bottom of the league in a lot of categories, and I think he is 100% a victim of his own hype that he had while he was at Clemson, considered to be the best quarterback prospect in the draft since Andrew Luck.
Yeah, and his coach didn't help either, because I think we were working together at the time when Dabo went on the flagship and called him Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That doesn't help when your coach says he's the next Michael Jordan. It's one thing to be a hyped prospect to then have someone come out on your behalf and say something like that. The thing about Trevor too is I know he was very poor in the first half of this game, but when you look back to the playoff game and what they did against the Chargers and coming back down by 20 plus points, he was incredible in the second half of that football game. And that felt like the coming out party for him. And then things just went downhill last year after an 8-3 start. And it's not all his fault, but then this year it just seems to be off to an even worse start. And they seem to be getting in their own way. Doug Peterson's going to get fired, whether it's Sunday or later in the season. And they're going to be looking for another head coach, and he's going to be looking for another offensive coordinator, and they're going to be blaming everyone else but Trevor Lawrence. And that's just kind of where they're at this point.
A couple of quotes have aged rather poorly for the Jaguars, but this one more than any. Shad Khan said this a month ago, quote, "Winning now is the expectation. Make no mistake, this is the best team assembled by the Jacksonville Jaguars ever. Best players, best coaches, but most importantly, let's prove it by winning now." They're 0-3. This is a team that did make the AFC Championship game in 2017, and many would argue that they would have won that AFC Championship game if the referees hadn't blown the whistle on what could have been a Myles Jack fumble return for a touchdown against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they did not move on in that game. The Jaguars defense was better then. The Jaguars defense hasn't been bad to open the year for what it's worth outside of the Bills game, but against the Dolphins, I thought they did a pretty good job. Against the Browns are just going to help you out with where Deshaun Watson is at this moment in time. Doug Peterson, the coach that you just mentioned, a couple of interesting quotes this week. He was asked about having a sense of urgency at 0-3. It's obviously heightened. Yep.
Yes.
Speaking of obvious. And Peterson talked about Trevor Lawrence's play. It's kind of surprising, honestly. You mentioned, Joe, the possibility of a coaching change. This was something that really made me laugh. I don't know how many people listen to Bill Simmons still. I'll be perfectly honest. Whenever Bill Simmons is talking about the NFL, I tend to tune out. But he had on Steven Ruiz of The Ringer, and get this on who might be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Bill Belichick is going to be coaching the Jaguars next season, and we'll know it by New Year's. It won't be official, but it will be the worst kept secret in the NFL.
The Jaguars. Okay.
Without a doubt in my mind.
Okay. Why?
Well, first of all, I know some beat reporters down in Jacksonville, and I think, there's already whispers there. I'll start with that. The real reason why I believe this, Shad Khan is a hands-off owner. I don't think he's going to get spooked like Atlanta did when Bill Belichick comes in and goes, I want to run the organization like this. I want to have GM powers. I want to be able to hire my own coordinators. I want to be able to decide the direction of this franchise. I don't think he's going to get spooked by that. I think he's going to like that. I think he's going to want it. If Belichick comes in and he throws those rings on the table, I think that's enough. I think Shad Khan needs a proven winner, someone where he can't get blamed for hiring the coach. Because if you hire Belichick, it doesn't work out. It's yeah, he's the greatest coach ever. Of
It's
course.
his fault. Yeah, nobody's mad that you hired Bill Belichick.
I hear what he's saying, and it makes a lot of sense, but it would be a mistake. I think so. I think you got to hire someone that's going to fix your quarterback.
Well, what if the quarterback can't be fixed? What if this is what the quarterback is?
Then that's a huge problem because you just gave him a contract. You just paid him $275 million.
I think going into the mode of just hiring some other Shanahan disciple, is not going to work out.
I think so too. Do you think Bill would want this job?
Yes, 100%. Bill would take a job if it's on the coast, and if he can have his boat on the water in the same city that he coaches a football team in Jacksonville. The city is on the water. 100%. 100% Belichick would take this.
I'm curious, what the control part of that, of why am I scared off Atlanta, what Belichick would want.
Who would you rather have running the show? Trent Baalke, who's an idiot, or Belichick? And I mean, this kills two birds with one stone. Okay, Belichick might not be the best roster constructor anymore. He's better than Baalke.
I just want it for Bill, if that's make or break. If the Cowboys job was open and Jerry said that he still wanted to be actively involved in the roster, would that mean Bill Belichick is out? Because that's the jobs we think about for Belichick we've talked about is the Eagles, the Cowboys. Jacksonville doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I don't know if he'll ever reveal it to us, but how much of that stuff is make or break, the control aspect of it. Because if he's okay with giving up some control, I do think there are going to be better jobs for him than Jacksonville. If control is important, then Jacksonville does make a lot of sense.
Is Dallas a better job?
I think the quarterback's better.
The quarterback is better, but is it a better job? I mean, you're in the NFC East. The Giants are bad right now. Commanders are on the rise.
Yeah.
Eagles are still going to be the Eagles, no matter who their head coach is. So I would say an above average organization at worst. Where the AFC South is, I mean, the Texans are the top dogs, and they just got blown out 30-47 on Sunday. And I mean, the Colts, I guess there's upside, but I mean, the quarterback situation, only one team has a quarterback in that division. And if I'm Belichick, I probably think I can fix Trevor Lawrence. So I feel like, the Jaguars are 0-3, and this is an entirely different conversation if the Texans don't take down the Jaguars on Sunday. The Jaguars might be looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, oh, we can turn this thing around. We've seen the Texans turn it around after an 0-3 start. I think they're better than the 0-3 team that they've shown to this point, but I think Belichick would be the move, the absolute slam dunk of a move if you are the Jaguars going forward. Don't bring in one of these show pony glory boys who's been touched by Sean McVay.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for them is that I don't know if Belichick will choose them.
I think you would. I think you would in a heartbeat. They have money. Shad Khan's rich. They have money.
Yeah.
Money's not an issue. They're on the water. It's an old person moving to Florida. When have we seen that before?
Yeah, I think there's just going to be the way the season has started. There's going to be there might be some really interesting jobs open. I mean, what if Cincinnati continues the way they're continuing? Would it shock you if Cincinnati was open?
They don't have money. They're poor. He wouldn't go to Cincinnati.
No.
It's
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to work for $6.99 an hour.
That's true.
I mean, they're cheap there. They don't spend money, and Belichick will get frustrated when he doesn't get the pay. He's made comments about Bill about Robert Kraft being cheap, right?
Yeah.
So I think Jacksonville's a great spot for Belichick. It would be interesting to see him in the division.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of talking me into it. Like, I didn't think about, like, it does make sense. Like, if
the personal side of things helps.
No, like, if he wants full control, wants to, like, live in an area, like, if that's important to him, and he wants to, and he believes he can fix Trevor Lawrence, like, that's really the ultimate question, because he's not going to be there for the next guy. Like, that's the thing about Belichick, right? Like, Trevor Lawrence that's his only quarterback.
And I'd rather have that as a responsibility than trying to get the young quarterback. Lawrence does have talent. It's just a matter of, can Doug Peterson make it work? And that's not happening right now. Belichick's a better coach than Doug Peterson. I don't care what happened in that Super Bowl.
100%. It's not even close.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I wonder about. I think Belichick would be able to get more out of someone like that. I mean, we saw the last time we saw Belichick in action, it was with Mac Jones, a bunch of quarterbacks that had no business, Cam Newton, no business being in the NFL.
And I think the one thing that would help him is that, like, as we've seen with certain coaches that fail as head coaches, Josh McDaniels would be coming with. And, like, he's going to fail as a head coach, but he's going to be a good offensive coordinator for Jacksonville.
Also might mean Joe Judge and on some of the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff, like, you would think Bill Belichick has learned from his mistakes of doing that weird Joe Judge and Patricia offensive coordinator year. You would assume Bill, like, at this point is like, I kind of got full of myself a little bit and thought, like, I could just put anyone in these roles.
I think that they told him, you're working with Mac Jones. You're making it work. And I think he was out on Mac Jones.
And you just kind of sabotaged?
I think it's possible. And then they brought in Bill O'Brien the next year.
What's ironic about this job?
What?
Who's the backup quarterback in Jacksonville?
Mac Jones. That would be so funny.
He might have to get traded.
He cuts Mac Jones.
Yeah.
First day in office.
He'd have to.
That would be funny. I totally forgot about that.
He threw 8 passes last week because he came in for garbage time for them. So that would be very funny if all of a sudden we're watching a game next year. It's Texans Jags against Mac Jones and Bill Belichick taking on the Texans.